further, we can jump into the lesson. So again, I'm gonna start off by giving all praises to the Most High God, whose name is YAHAWAH, and I do so in the name of His beloved Son YAHAWASHI, who many around the world know as Jesus, Yeshua, various different pronunciations. We're exalting the Son of the Most High God. So the topic, as I mentioned before, is why is loving God and your neighbor the summary of God's instructions. And what we're going to do is we're going to start off with our first scripture, which is in the book of Mark. I'm going to get my screen shared in a moment. We will start off in the book of Mark, the 12th chapter. And I'm going to be reading out of the NASB 1995 version. So if you can just read Mark chapter 12, verse 28 through 29.
This is Mark chapter 12, 28 and verse 29. One of the scribes came and heard them arguing, and recognizing that he had answered them well, asked him, "What commandment is the foremost of all?" YAHAWASHI answered, "The foremost is, Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God is one Lord."
So let's first focus on verse 28, because it said the question, it was a question that was asked to YAHAWASHI, and it was asked, what is the foremost commandment in the law? Now, first off, let's look at this particular word, foremost, right? So the word foremost is in reference, it's the Greek word protos, 44:13, and it's in reference to first in rank, first in influence, honor, and chief, right? Now, basically, it's basically saying, what is the most important commandment, right? So that's what this particular scribe is asking YAHAWASHI. So let's see what YAHAWASHI's response is. So you can read verses 29 through 31.
Verse 29 reads, YAHAWASHI answered, "The foremost is, Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God is one Lord. And you shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, and with all your soul, and with all your mind, and with all your strength. The second is this, you shall love your neighbor as yourself. There is no other commandment greater than these."
So the Messiah said the foremost commandment is to love the Most High with all your heart, soul, and mind and strength. And the second is to love your neighbor as yourself. And then he concludes by saying that there's no commandment that are greater than these. So first off, let's dissect this, right? Let's kind of go into this. And let's jump into what YAHAWASHI is actually quoting, because uh, there are a lot of people that will bring this passage out and they'll say, all you got to keep is love the Lord thy God with all your heart, mind, and strength, and love your neighbor as yourself. Those are the only two. That's what they'll say. And they'll try to just shorten the instruction of the Most High God to just that. And so you say, oh, well, can I eat pork? Yeah, all you got to do is just keep them commandments, right? Well, what we're going to go into is we're going to show that by keeping these two, it encompasses keeping the rest of what's written throughout Exodus, throughout Leviticus, throughout Numbers, throughout Deuteronomy, right? Because you can't adequately keep these two without keeping what's written in those other places, right? So let's look at what YAHAWASHI is quoting. Let's go to the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 6, and we're going to read verse 4 through 5.
This is Deuteronomy chapter 6, verses 4 and 5 in the NASB. Hear, O Israel, the Lord is our God. The Lord is one. You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your might.
So first and foremost, what I want to do, and this is going to be another lesson to come in the future, most high willing, but something I always do when I'm looking at scripture is I look at the scripture from first from a linguistic standpoint. I look at the grammar that's presented to us, right? And then after that, I go into a few other steps. But that's another lesson for another day. But I am going to be jumping into the language quite a bit throughout the lesson. So just want y'all to be prepared for that. So first and foremost, what I want to touch on is looking at the first clause. I believe the first clause in verse 5, right? And it reads, and we're going to read up to, let's read up to, it's just the kind of the first part, right? It says, YAHAWAH et YAHAWAH Eloheka Bekal Levavka, right? Now, when we look at 430, this is Levavka, that's your God. But we're going to first take a look at 38. Shalakia. Levavka is your heart. Shalakia. So let's look at 38:24 because this is the first aspect of what's being addressed is the heart. So, I can you see the screen?
Yes, sir.
Kind all praises. So it's a particular part in here that I need to be addressed right here. I think. Let me see. I think it's inner man. Because inner man comes up a few times, but it says something about inner man, thoughts, and a few things, right? Right here. So can you read this? I'm gonna just highlight it.
Con.
Then you can just read what's highlighted. Hey, can I? If you're reading, oh, you know what,
No,
Salakia?
I don't see anything.
It's not shared. Yeah, I'm like, man, I thought everybody could. So
Okay,
yeah,
I see it now.
yeah. So my bad. God. But yeah, let me scroll back down to it. Yeah, that's definitely my fault. Yeah, y'all didn't even. I bet some people were wondering, like, man, what is he even reading? But
Con. I was
God,
too. I was sitting there wondering. I was like, I guess he gonna flip to it eventually.
God, Salaki. But just that highlighted part.
The inner man, indefinite, the soul, comprehending mind, affections, and will.
Con. So as we read, this is from the Thayer's Greek Lexicon. This is found on your Blue Letter Bible, Bible Hub, and different tools that you could use to go into the language and stuff. But it says the inner man, comprehending mind, affections, and will. Right. So basically, just to put it in a simpler term, your mind Hebraically is synonymous, or Shalaka, your heart is synonymous with your mind or your inner man, right? Those two are synonymous, or they're the same thing. So, kind of to move on, unless you got a point out, to kind of move on, the first thing that we touched on within Deuteronomy 6, let me jump back. Deuteronomy 6 and verse 5, it says that we ought to love the Most High God with all your heart, right? And so
Con.
again, just to enforce the point, when it says to love the Most High with all your heart, it's not in reference to that organ that's within your body that pumps blood. That's not what the heart is in reference to. And a lot of people, they kind of think when they hear like phrases like, "Yeah, do it," just do it with your heart. it's how much sense does that actually make? Like, oh, like I'm thinking with my heart and not my mind, but it's like the the mind is where the emotion is at, you know. So again, just understanding, just little things like that is very important for when we read the text and understand it, right? Um, let's move on because there's another part of um, Deuteronomy 6 and 5 because it mentions the heart, but it goes on to mention the soul as well. So let's go into this word soul. Matter of fact, let me pull it up on the interlinear. Uh, let me make sure my screen is shared this time. And when we look at, let's look for this word soul right here is the word, it's the phrase um, nefesh ka, and the ka indicates you. Nefesh is soul, so it's the soul of yours, right, or your soul, right? So when we look at this, is H5315, Nefesh or Napash, and when we look at this, let me pull it up now. It's in reference to a soul, a living being, life, self, person, desire, passion, appetite, emotion, right? So basically, in a nutshell, this is in reference to the life that's within somebody. This is what makes somebody alive. So, just to kind of clarify everything and just to keep everything ordered in steps, we've touched on the heart, which the heart is in reference to your mind and your thoughts and things like that. Then we touched on the soul, which is in reference to what actually makes somebody alive, what actually, basically animates somebody, right? So next we have the next word, um, which would be might or strength, right? So let's jump back to the interlinear, 3966. Moadeka, same rule as the other one. Um, so it's moed, which would be strength, and then ka would be of you. So it would be your strength, right? So again, going into this 3966, and the definition just means muchness, force, abundance. So this, and so that's why even when you look at the Greek rendition in Mark, it takes that word and it says ability. So just a quick point: when people try to, they try to come against the notion that keeping the commandments to the best of your ability isn't biblical, you can push back and say, well, literally, um, loving the Most High God with all your strength is literally all your ability, all your force, right? So again, y'all just make sure that y'all remember that if anybody tries to make that particular argument, right? And it's sad that people will go to that length, right? Because what they'll say to you is, well, look, there's no such thing as keeping the commandments to the best of your ability, and so therefore we shouldn't keep the commandments. That's fully folly, but anyway, we can continue on, right? So basically, in a nutshell, what's being taught is that we're to love the Most High with all our mind, with all our soul, and with all of our strength, right? And so basically, this covers everything that's within us, every aspect. That's what's being taught. But there's another layer I want to touch on that gets overlooked. And this is why we have, a lot of arguments with, you know, people that might not subscribe to keeping the commandments of the Most High. That's what I'll say, right? They get caught up on this concept of love, right? When we look at this word love, it's YAHAWAH, right? It's H 157. When you look at it in just your normal lexicon, it doesn't go in depth like that. It just says to love, and it's a little bit ambiguous. But um, I want to show you guys something. And for anybody that wants a source, just reach out to me and I can give it to you. But I'll just quote it for you, or I'll cite it for you rather, and I'll show it on the screen. This is from the Ancient Hebrew Lexicon of the Bible by Jeff Benner. Now, Ak, if you can you read? And this is on page 100. But can you read just the entry for love right here? I'm gonna just highlight it so you can know exactly what I'm talking about. Can you read this one?
Love, the expressions and actions toward the family, which one was privileged with.
So, a lot of our people, we're under the misconception or the influence of the misconception that love is just, or love is merely a feeling. But as we read in this definition, and this is, based upon the ancient Hebrew, is based upon the ancient roots and things like that. So it really gets mechanical in how it breaks down the definition. So that's why I like this one. But it's basically telling us that love isn't merely a feeling, but it's something that we have to express or display. We because like it can be a feeling, it can be a feeling of affection that you have towards somebody, but you have to actually display it, right? And those actions have to be becoming. So in the context of Deuteronomy 6, when we jump back to it, and it says to love the Most High with all of your heart, soul, and might. That means that our actions have to be becoming of affection toward the Most High. It can't, and that's why many scriptures, you even see YAHAWASHI quotes it. The prophet said all of the time, these people, they worship me with their words, but I believe it says their hearts are far from me, right? It's, because of the deeds and the actions that are displayed, right? Because by their actions and by their thoughts and by all of the things that they're doing, they're not displaying love toward the Most High, But before I move on, you got any points out?
You good up. But that's a good point to be made, with that love, that word love, because that's what people, I do love the Lord with all my heart, soul, and mind. And they say that, that applies to them because of the way they feel about God. That, that's what they think they're actually fulfilling that commandment.
Exactly. It's a mass deception. A lot of people don't know what love is, and that's something that constantly has to be harped on, because so many people, they have a misconstrued what biblical love actually is. But excellent point. All praises.